you've made that investment of additional resources and time to have the team go through that and then spend all the time interviewing, 1,000 plus CEPAs so that you can really say like, this is built with you in mind. It wasn't something that EPI tried to build on behalf of the advisors or a software company just said, hey, let's just build a solution, right? It was collaborative in the sense that it's really born out of the methodology itself. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Partners and Pours and Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Josh Koza. Again, I'm the Director of Strategic Relationships here at the Exit Planning Institute, and I'm excited to have a special guest with me today. I'll introduce him in just a second, but just to highlight, again, the purpose of this podcast in particular, we want to showcase out to you the CEPA and EPI and broader business owner community who are the real partners and solution providers in the community that can help you and your practice and or your business owner clients and their practices and organizations as we all work to build significant companies and create significant exits. And so today, I'm really excited to be joined by Kris Snyder. Kris is the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called 90, among a couple of other hats that he wears. But today, that's where we're going to focus in. So thanks for joining me, Kris. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Josh, I'm excited to have this conversation.
So one of the things, Kris, that I like to do when before I have this podcast, I want to Google a company's name. I'm always interested, like what a Google will say, and then get in their own words what it is. So I Googled 90, and the description that pops up in the footer there says 90 is an innovative platform that simplifies building great organizations by helping teams work more effectively together. Now, of the ones I've read, I feel like that's a pretty succinct and straightforward explanation. But in your own words, can you explain who and what is 90?
Yeah, well, when we first started, before the marketers set in, we used to like to say that we really want to help leaders and teams build extraordinarily productive, humane, and resilient organizations. That got synthesized down to focus, align, and thrive, which are good too, right? But it probably, I love the humane part of it, right? Because I think an organization that's really going to grow has to have a great culture. And I know at EPI, you guys talk a lot about everything from core values. And so we're really a platform that brings those things that are, strategy and planning and execution and people tools to life. Because we write books like Walking to Destiny, and it's a great book, but now what do I do? And that's really where the software steps in and says, hey, I can start to activate the concepts, the tools. You guys all bring the discipline as humans to life. And, we started 2017. We've got about 16,000 customers now, 250,000 paying users in the system, and grown pretty well. So I think we're finding our niche, and I think it's our second year of our partnership.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we love what you guys are doing. We love the community you're creating. So we're excited to be part of it.
Good. Yeah, no, we're certainly glad to have you. So you said 16,000 users and 250,000 paying customers. Could you differentiate?
So 16,000 organizations, because some of these are nonprofits, right? And so they wouldn't call themselves a business, but the majority are for-profit businesses, and they're on the small and medium size, right? So majority of them are less than 250 employees. We have bigger teams at companies like Microsoft and AWS or whatever using the product, but that's not really what it's meant for. It's really meant for like getting the entire organization working as one on those concepts and tools. Because if you take something conceptual like a core value, it's like, well, how do I activate it? Well, it's cultures, rituals, and artifacts. And part of what the software does is it starts to help you run the rituals through meetings in which you can bring core value shout-outs to life, right? And it helps you create artifacts in kind of the strategy side or the vision side where you actually have those core values digitally for everyone in the organization, no matter where their location, they can see them.
Okay. And 90 was originally came out of the EOS world, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, when we first started the partnership a year and a half ago, part of the conversation was some of the misconception might be that it was like exclusive for EOS implementers. But obviously we have a partnership, we're working with the CEPA community. That's not the case. But could you talk about, I guess, the growth of that
Yeah.
over the years?
So Mark Abbott, the founder of 90, was an EOS implementer for a long time, and I became an EOS implementer in 2018. When I met 90, there was probably like 4 team members or something, so it was pretty small, but they were doing good stuff. And really, it was the difference in the mindset was configurability. Like it was going to treat EOS and kind of all of its business operating system components to be configured, right, in a template. And so that same concept then allows you to have other operating systems. And these will be things like, Pinnacle, who's a partner of yours. Obviously, EOS is a partner of yours. And then there's things like Patrick Lencioni's Advantage and Scaling Up. And we've mostly heard about these frameworks. And again, we just approach it as, if you want to call them big rocks, which you guys do, that's cool. EOS calls them rocks. If you want to call them, workshops, they call them sessions. Yeah, because conceptually they're really close, right?
Sure.
So there's just a little bit of configuration that allows us the software flexibility. So we still have a great relationship with EOS worldwide. We still have lots of EOSIs referring, but we also have the other systems now operating, and that's kind of with the value acceleration methodology. We've treated it and templated out the same way inside our software.
Sure. And so I think when you talk about differentiation, that's a good segue, because I think for the community, for the CEPA and EPI community, when they hear something's a software solution, right? We have really great partners in the software solution industry, but most of those are, I would say all of them are some sort of client delivery tool or solution. So an advisor is going to leverage that tool for their engagement with their business owner, something that they subscribe to, pay for, and then they use as a tool. That's not what 90 is, right? It's different than that. So I think to make that distinction is important to the community.
Yeah, we'll just use value acceleration methodology, right? So the 3 gates, you've got the discover gate, the prepare, and the decide gate. So really most of the other ones that do valuation are more on that discover gate, right? That's where they're spending their time. They're creating that valuation for the triggering event to happen and the crossover. We're not those folks. Like we're really in that prepare. So once you've decided that you're going to go into the methodology and you're going to start working on all 3 legs of the stool, so we can help you on the personal side, we can help you on the financial side, we can help you on the business side. And so that then has to come through that prepare gate because you're preparing for the exit. Then every 90 days you get to get there, and I know I'm describing the methodology, but the software does all this. It has your org chart, your accountability chart in EOS speak. It has all your meetings from your one-on-ones to your quarterly workshops. And then if you get to that decision you're going to actually exit, it can actually support you. It has what most people would call a learning management system inside. So think about this as a data repository. So a light duty data room is being created over the years as you prepare to exit. And now you've got that person who wants to come in and check out it's a process tool inside. So all your processes are digitally documented as well. And now your business, we believe, is much more saleable because you've had all that. So it goes beyond just that initial, let's create a business valuation, let's get you ready for the triggering event. We pick it up from there and go, which is different. Now, when I think about the CEPA, and we like to say that, they get from us, which is I think a little different in the industry, they can have a free practice account. So if they look at theirs, which most of the CEPAs we've talked to is they have a practice, right? They're trying to go out and grow their business or their practice. So we're trying to let them use it because it's a performance management tool on how they grow their business through the activities that they do. And what we really hope out of that is now that they get awareness to what we do, they can make a referral and recommendation to a business owner such that the business owner now has their account, which the business owner pays for, and then they start to do all the activities.
So I think that's a good point that you ended with there. So that the goal at the end of the day is to have more business owners and businesses operating inside or using 90 inside their
That's right.
practice.
Yeah. And we look at your 8,000 CEPA community and our 16,000 business owners. And one of the challenges that we talk about long term is how do we eventually start to bring those 2 things together? Mm-hmm. And, while it's only going into our 2nd year of the relationship, our goal is to get to know as many CEPAs as possible. I think we shared with you, we had over 1,000 conversations last year with CEPAs. And part of that is just getting to know them, getting them to know us. And so we can start to go, okay, if this is good for you, we believe it could be good for us too, because we're going to help educate and support into the programs. And then on the flip side of it, hopefully they get excited about what we do and they can refer business owners.
Sure. And back to an earlier point you made when we were talking about the other software solutions that maybe plug into a specific gate or spot in the methodology. And I was talking about this a little earlier with others when we were in the room, is that they can almost overlay onto the value acceleration methodology graphic, like here's where different pieces of our tool fit or apply. Maybe a little bit more challenging from 90's perspective, because I said it's almost like 90's like behind it, right? It's really sort of what helps you power the entire process. So it's not like we plug in here or engage us here. It's like this entirety of this is sort of overlaid in it. And I think that it's certainly something unique and a partnership we haven't had.
And what you can do, and with those other partners, we look forward to having, a data transfer, API injection, but you can actually just take the reports. We have fields that you can go start to put in that data, the business valuation. And then over time, it basically will track the value increase every 90 days, go back to your business valuation tool set, hit that again if you want to, right? Or wait for annual, however you feel it. But now you have a track and trace mechanism as well. So I do think there's some distinction there, and we're excited to continue to try to educate the community. But hopefully what they can really see on the other side of is that we're committed long term to be involved, and hopefully we can start to bring more business relationships, which is why we're excited about drivevalue.com and being one of your partners there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think back to in our conversations with your relationship in the EOSI community is right, and people are familiar with that community. Like you have self-implementers, you have business owners that are self-implementing the EOS process and framework, but the opportunity for the implementer community there is that those owners eventually hit some sort of roadblock or hurdle that they can't navigate themselves, and so they reach out and say, "Well, I need to go engage with an implementer. I need someone to come in and hold my hand through this process." So there's a opportunity for business development for the community, and maybe we're not there today, right? But I think that's one of the future things we've been talking about is how does that play into through the drivevalue.com campaign as we go direct to business owners as an organization now for the first time. How are we able to connect highly educated and qualified advisors with more educated business owners? I think this is a real opportunity to do just that.
And I mean this in a really healthy way, that it's 2025, right? In 2025, people would expect that there's digital tool sets that help them in their journey and along their way, right? And so part of that is that when you're self-implementing, when they're on their journey by themselves, yet they haven't chosen to have a CEPA, they're getting educated around value acceleration methodology, and then they can choose, right, to go, hey, I think I've struggled enough. Let me get, a value advisor involved. Let me get a financial advisor involved. And we, again, want to be that conduit. I do think that, if you look at EOS Worldwide's numbers, they would say 90% of their market is self-implementing. They've sold over 3 million books that support those numbers. And on our side, we would say 50% of the market that we see is self-implementing. And it just becomes a really good opportunity to get to know those self-implementers when they raise their hand and say, that's enough.
Sure.
It's time to be
right.
And they do it. They don't do it out of arrogance. They do it because they're at the early stages. They can't see the exit yet, and then they get further along in their business, and they're at 50 employees, and they start having the right conversations, and hopefully through the educational materials that you guys provide, they now start to understand the 5 Ds. And they go, I don't need any of those. I've got to prepare for them, right? Yeah. So, anyways, I think there's some really good opportunity to be earlier into that place of education with the business owners, and then that we'll be able to drive those relationships as part of the value chain.
Yeah, and I think we've spent a fair amount of time talking about EOS, but I think that is natural because of where 90 came out of, right? And so it's a case study example of what has worked and maybe what opportunities exist there. And so I think what's unique about about the CEPA community and value acceleration is that it's not just focused on the business. There's the personal and the personal financial planning aspect. So one of the things we were talking about earlier today was if in there we could have some sort of inside of 90 have this assessment that's really measuring not just business, the business, but also having a score around personal readiness and financial readiness, and seeing how those things need to line up. Because if they're following the value acceleration methodology framework in this instance as a self-implementer, they might run into not just a business hurdle, right? So they might be looking for the value advisor CEPA in that case, but they might run into a personal planning hurdle or a personal financial plan, realizing that they're not quite where they need to be. So it's an opportunity, would in that scenario be an opportunity for not just the value advisor community. Certainly that's kind of top of mind when you think of this, but it's the financial advisors, it's the estate planning attorneys, it's the family business coaches and consultants, it's all of those, right? I think, and so that as we kind of think big and long term, right? That's, I think, where we have a real opportunity to accelerate this.
Yes, and because just like your business, our family has core values. My wife and I get together every year. We make a plan for the year, right? It's going to include vacations and savings amounts and all that stuff. Where do you put that stuff? We just put it on our personal planning side of 90, and that therefore you could access it. And whether your meeting cadence is monthly, quarterly, whatever it is, you could just keep progressing on your personal plan. Then when we meet with our financial advisor, we're sharing our personal plan to mirror up to our personal financial, and then obviously we've got the business as well. So, and all this is really we can keep inside one place, which is nice because now we can just access it over time.
And I think interconnectivity is a key too, is the communication or the visibility to different advisors on the team, right? Being able to plug in the same place, because we, I've been talking to some CEPAs as of late, and they said one of the biggest hurdles they have now is the education of the other advisors, particularly if it's a non-CEPA that they're working with, to educate that advisor as much as they're having to educate the business owner. So if we can create the relationships where we're building teams of CEPA certified advisors, but then the next question is, well, where's the central repository that we're engaging with together with the business owner? And this is a solution to that problem.
It's a solution to the problem. And I mean, look, the software, we have 3 tiers. It's $10, $14, and $16. So we're not talking a lot of burden, but even so, any of your advisory accounts for them to see inside that business owner, and it's an observer seat. In that observer seat, they can see the things they need to see. If they're actually truly going to do work inside the software, that's more of like a coach seat, and that also is free to the owner. But they can decide what level of visibility or what level of doing do they actually need to be in there. And we're not looking to burden the business owner for that, because we think it's part of the great opportunity here for the business owner to get value from the software as part of the collaboration, that they can see what they need to see. And the educational material is there too along the way.
And speaking of different disciplines or advisor types, again, we've talked a lot about the value advisor role, and the EOS community, Pinnacle, Focal Point, Cultivate, those folks that are partners inside of our community, and many of you know and probably work with already. But 90 is not just a solution for those advisors to be referring clients. Like, we can have the financial advisor, wealth managers, we can have the CPAs, we can have the others being channel partners of 90, right? I think it's a valuable tool in their conversations when they're engaging with business owners to present that as a solution for what maybe is missing in their firm.
We have 2,100 partners in our partner system today, and there's really we would talk about kind of 2 types. There's that kind of coach, advocate, value advisor that's actually kind of doing work with them. And then there's the ones that are more affiliate referrals. And when we mean that they have enough education and awareness to make a referral, but refer to it as, hey, to the business owner, this is an idea. This is something I'm aware of. This is something I'm educated enough to put that out there. We respect that it can't be reputational because they're not actively in the system and using it, and they probably don't know us as well as the other ones do. But that's an easy way to get into the community for us, and then for us, again, to get to know, love, and trust each other enough that we can make referrals back along the way.
And I want to talk a little bit about flexibility. So you have templates and frameworks built in whether you're a EOS implementer, a Pinnacle business guide, right? We've got a value acceleration framework inside of it now, but it's customizable once you're in there, right? To really what suits. And I think one of the things that EPI always wants to talk about is we're not. I think Kris Snyder, right? Not to
we always make that clarification. Which Kris are we talking about?
Kris Snyder of EPI. I think was obviously the purest form of value acceleration. He created the methodology. That's what the book is written on. But I think in practice, most advisors are not implementing or integrating it verbatim the way that Kris did it. And that's fine, right? We're okay with that. So while we can build a framework and template and tools and processes, like, you don't have to stick directly to that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the flexibility or customization options inside?
Happy to. It's we in the software world always try to differentiate between configuration and customization, and it's really pretty lightly. It would say that we're not creating custom code, but it's highly configurable. So if you think about it, it's got the ability to go in the meetings and say, hey, I want to configure the meetings, and I want to take the meetings from not 90-minute weekly meeting. I want to take it to 2 hours. I hear organizations do that. And so that's okay, right? Because that's the way in which you guys have to run. Maybe the team's larger, maybe you're doing something different. But there's ways in which you can just go into the existing template and start to configure it such that it still feels like what that advisor or that business owner actually wants to run. We've had people who say, I don't like rocks, I want boulders. We care, but we don't care. Like, if it works for you at that moment, change the language for you. Because our approach as a software company is trying to meet the business owners where they're at and create the value that they need. And then with the partners along the way, just understand what's best for them in that interaction with the business owner.
So if a CEPA advisor wants to become a partner, like get familiar with the platform, and then hopefully begin referring business owners to it, like what type of onboarding training, what does that process look like as far as them becoming familiar with how to navigate, utilize, and implement?
Yeah, it's one conversation. So you can reach out to us obviously through your guys' website. Ours is just 90.io. There's a coach partner page there. You can go in, you can request a conversation. We'll walk you through. We use a third-party technology like everyone else does to help manage the partnership. And then we basically get to decide, like, what kind of partner do you want to be? If you just want to be a referring partner, that's great. We'll give you some of the documentation, get you set up, and then you're on your way. If you actually want to start using the platform in your practice, well, that's going to be kind of, now you get a demo. We give you the plans that we think you need in order to start to actually use the product in your practice.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that a number of your team has gone through the CEPA certification program, and not because you're going to be practitioners by and large in the field, but I think a couple of reasons. That the one, to be able to build the tools inside of the software to align with the methodology, right, was super important. But then I think the ability to understand the CEPA community and the types of advisors they are and the way they're educating engagement with owners, their pain points, what's causing them struggle in getting their practice off the ground. So I think it's important to note that you've made that investment of additional resources and time to have the team go through that and then spend all the time interviewing, 1,000+ CEPAs, so that you can really say, like, this is built with you in mind. It wasn't something that EPI tried to build on behalf of the advisors, or a software company just said, hey, let's just build a solution, right? It was collaborative in the sense that it's really born out of the methodology itself. So I think, and we can tell the difference, I think, sometimes with a partnership where that level of investment has been made. So I think that goes a long way.
Well, our lessons, and I think it sounds like common sense, but sometimes it's not that common, is if you're going to participate in a community, you should understand the language of the community, right? And so we wanted to, our CFO, Tim, was the first one who came through. That was really to help us understand, do we fit or not, right? And then, he thumbs up. So then we've got 2 of our BD team. We'll have a 3rd here soon. They're passing their CEPA. And that's really for language, for understanding. When we're at the summit, we want to make sure that we're not saying things people look at us twice for, like, what is that? Why would you say that? So it's been good learning. And I think that level of engagement hopefully is what will, it'll transpire, and we'll continue to win the hearts and minds.
Awesome. Well, I certainly, and EPI as a whole certainly appreciates the partnership, and I know the community is starting to and will continue to appreciate the partnership between our organizations. And I think it really is what a true strategic relationship is meant to be, right? It's 2 organizations with some aligned vision, and certainly a goal of growing their own organizations, but growing together. And I feel like we've got that between our organizations, the rollout of the Drive Value campaign that we're certainly excited that you're a part of. So I want to wind things down now, but I do want to encourage all the CEPAs in the community that are listening. Again, we touched on it earlier. You get a free practice account. So go to 90.io, reach out through our website, reach out to our team, Kris's team, to get set up with that, and encourage you to check that out and see if it's right for you and your practice and what kind of business owners you have that might find benefit in that. So I want to thanks for your time, Kris. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
This has been fun couple of days wrapping up with the podcast here. And thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. I want to encourage you to subscribe, listen, leave a review on all your podcast platforms, and we'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Josh.